Congress overturning President Obama on the 9/11 victims bill, overriding his veto, allowing the families of 9/11 victims to sue Saudi Arabia for compensation. It is the first successful veto override of the Obama White House. The president says it was purely political.
I wish Congress here had done what's hard. I didn't expect it because voting, if you're perceived as voting against 9/11 families right before an election, not surprisingly, that's a hard vote for people to take. But it would have been the right thing to do.
Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry is live in Washington. Ed, why did this, what was behind the huge margin that it passed by here?
The president makes a good point about politically, right before an election, it's hard to vote against the 9/11 families, but maybe more important than that is the 9/11 families believe beyond politics, they're finally going to get some measure of justice because this bill and now a law will create an exception to current U.S. law that opens a door now to lawsuits against foreign governments by victims of terror attacks right here on American soil, specifically targeting Saudi Arabia, as you said, which has denied any involvement in the 9/11 attacks. Though remember, the 9/11 Commission did leave the door open to the possibility that some Saudi officials played a role. The president insists this sets a dangerous precedent. It will result in American diplomats, other government officials being sued overseas. But New York Congressman Peter King brushed that off.
All of the president's objections, I believe, were addressed. Changes were made. And this bill is not going to put American soldiers at risk. It's not going to put American diplomats at risk. What it is going to do is going to finally allow the 9/11 families to have their day in court.
And on that point, U.S. courts could seize Saudi assets to pay for any judgments the 9/11 families win. And Saudi officials already scrambling, saying they may sell off hundreds of billions of dollars in assets they have right here on U.S. soil, Melissa.
Yeah, we'll see about that and what impact that would have. But, Ed, I mean, the president really lashing out at Congress. What is behind all of that anger? He's mad.
Well, yeah, part of it is he has his former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, opposing him on this. Senator Chuck Schumer, normally a key ally, said the commander-in-chief is dead wrong. And the president's press secretary, Josh Earnest, said this is the dumbest thing Congress has done since 1983. So that tells you they're fired up because they insist it sets an awful precedent. Watch the president.
Some of the people who voted for it said, frankly, we didn't know what was in it. And there was no debate of it. And it was basically a political vote. I understand that, but my job as commander-in-chief is to make sure that we're looking ahead at how this is going to impact our overall mission.
I just spoke privately with one of the most vigorous supporters of this legislation who told me, look, by that standard, maybe the president and his staff should have read Obamacare and other laws more closely when he said there, Congress, bitterly, he says, did not even read this. It's a sign of just how much anger is built up over this issue, Melissa.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to hear him say, well, they say they didn't read it. That is never an excuse in Washington.
Where have we heard that before?
Yeah, exactly. Big controversy. Thanks for staying on top of it. Ed Henry.